Good morning. This video is about story The Selfish Giant, a revision about chapter 1, 2, and 3. Let's start The Selfish Giant. Let's start with chapter 1. Every afternoon after school, the children play in the giant's garden. It's a wonderful big green garden. There are beautiful flowers, tall trees, and birds in the garden. The giant wasn't in his garden for 7 years. The giant is staying at his friend's house, the Cornish giant, in Cornwall. When the giant came back, he saw the children in his garden. He was very angry. The giant put a wall around the garden with a notice, "No children." The giant is very selfish. He doesn't want the children to play in his garden. The children were very sad because they don't like to play in the road. This is chapter 1 summary, all of the important points in chapter 1. Let's go to chapter 2. Spring comes all over the country, but the giant's garden stays winter. Birds don't want to sing in the garden, and the trees stay dark because there are no children. One flower saw the notice, so it felt sorry for the children and went back down. Only Snow and Frost are happy in the garden. The snow puts her cold white coat on the ground. The frost puts silver on the dark trees. North Wind came in his big brown coat. He makes noise and moves things in the garden. The hail came. He sits on the roof and never stops hitting it, and cold smoke comes out of his mouth. The giant is sad, waiting for the spring to come after all of that winter. And this is for chapter 2. Let's go for the important points in chapter 3. The spring and the summer never comes to the giant's garden. Autumn brings golden apples to most people, but brings nothing to the giant because she doesn't give to selfish people. One morning, the giant heard the beautiful music from his window. The music was a bird singing, but after the long winter, the giant couldn't remember the sound of the bird. The spring is in the garden. Finally, there is no hail, north wind, snow, or frost. The children came into the garden through a hole in the wall. The trees are happy and started to blossom because the children are back. In a corner in the garden, it wasn't spring, it stayed winter. There was a boy in the corner crying, "Can't get into the tree." At here we have stopped in chapter 3. So those are chapter 1, 2, and 3. You can read the summary once or twice or 3 times, as much as you can, so you can always remember the important events that happened in the story. Okay, so now let's go for some questions. I want you to answer with me in a loud voice. I'm going to read the question and I'm going to wait for your answer. Try to answer in a loud voice. If you want to think, so you can pause the video until you find the answer. Let's start. Every afternoon, space school, the children play in the space. Every afternoon, after or before school? Yes, after. The children play in they played where? Yes, giant garden. It's a wonderful, can you describe the garden? It's a wonderful, big or small? Yes, big. What was the color of the garden? Green. Very good. Okay, there are beautiful, beautiful what? Beautiful in the garden. There were beautiful flowers, tall trees, and what singing? And birds. Very good. The giant wasn't in his garden for how long? Yes, 7 years. The giant is staying at his friend's house. The cornet giant is in where? Yes, Cornwall. When the giant came back home and saw the children in his garden, he was very, very happy, very sad, very angry. Yes, he was very angry. The giant put a around the garden. He put what around the garden? He put a wall around the garden with a what was on the wall? It's a notice. No children. Okay, the giant is he's very kind, he's very sad, he's very selfish, he's very what? He doesn't want the children to play in his garden. He's very, yes, when you want everything for yourself only, so this is a selfish person. Okay. The children were very sad because they don't like to play they don't like to play where? Yes, in the road. What comes all over the country? What comes all over the country? Which season? Which season comes all over the country? But the giant garden stays what? Yes, spring comes all over the country, but the giant garden stays winter. Birds, birds don't want to. The birds don't want to do what? The birds don't want to sing. Very good. In the garden. And the trees stays what? Stays bright or dark? Yes, dark. And that's because there are no children in the garden. Yes, that's true. Okay, now one flower saw the notice, so it felt what? This flower felt what? When the flower came out and saw the notice. Yes, it felt sorry for the children. Very good. Only who and who are in the garden? Who is in the garden now? In the giant's garden? In this winter? Yes, only Snow and Frost. Are happy or sad in the garden? Happy. Very good. The snow puts her, the snow puts her, yes, cold white coat on the ground. Frost puts what on the dark trees? He puts silver. The north wind came in his what was the color of his coat? In his big brown coat. He makes noise and moves things in the garden. The hail came, the hail came and he sits where the hail? The heavy rain. Hail is the heavy rain. He sits where? He sits on the roof and never stops hitting it. And what comes out of his mouth? Cold smoke. The giant he is waiting for space to come after all of that space. The giant is happy or sad? In all of this winter, the giant is happy or sad? Yes, the giant is sad. He's waiting for what? For winter? Of course not. He's waiting for spring to come after all of that winter. The space never comes to the giant's garden. The summer and spring never comes to the giant's garden. Space brings space apples to most people. Huh? Who brings apple? Autumn. And we said that autumn is like fall. Autumn is fall. Autumn brings golden apples to most people, but brings nothing to the giant because she doesn't give to the good people. doesn't give to the selfish people. Yes. One morning, the giant heard a beautiful what? He heard, so it's a beautiful music from his window. The music was a singing. The music was a boy singing or a bird singing. Yes, a bird. Very good. But after the giant couldn't remember the sound of the birds. Long what? What was sitting for a long time in his garden? It's winter, yes. Okay. The spring is in the garden finally. There is no what? If there is a spring now, you know what? No frost, no snow, no hail, no north wind. Okay? If there is no winter, you cannot see any one of them. Okay? The space came into the garden through. Who came into the garden after this long winter? Who came into the garden? The children came into the garden through a door in the wall. It was a door? No, through a hole in the wall. The trees are the trees now are happy or sad? The children now are in the garden, so the trees are happy and started to blossom because the space are back. Who are back? Children. In a space in the garden, it wasn't space. In a corner in the garden, it wasn't spring. It stayed winter. There was a who was in the corner crying, a boy in the corner crying, can't get into the tree. Okay, I think we have revised chapter 1, 2, and 3. You can watch the questions more than once. You can pause the video to answer the question alone. Then you can play the video to check your answer. I want you to revise it wisely and slowly. We are going to come back to school starting from next Sunday. I want to see all of you next Sunday at school, please. Thank you. See you on Sunday. Bye.